Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday podcast. There's no crying in crochet. We are here every Friday, um, except when we're not. Today is a recorded one. Haha. So there was a Friday where we weren't here, but now we are. Anyway, I'm Biz from Busy Crochet. This is my good friend,
And I am Debbie from Madam Stitch.
and we are all over the place today. So, because we are recording, things might be a little bit looser than normal. And we are changing one of the things that we normally say at the beginning of our podcast. You don't have to worry about Facebook today because we're not connected to them. If you are following us on YouTube, please hit the follow and the like because we are trying to update our channels on the regular. I know that Debbie's got some new tutorials coming out. I don't right now, but I will be. And also hit the bell button so that you are getting notifications when we do go live. If you're with us this week, and we are, like I said several times, we're recorded, um, go ahead and leave comments when there's something that sparks an interest so that we can come back and chat with you about it. I
Mhm.
would like to be in communication with all of our followers. And this just, just because we're recorded doesn't mean we can't do it still, right? Okay. So, we are going to just jump right into our conversation this week. This is going to be our crochet skills class. But we're not going to do necessarily crochet skills. We're going to jump on a different subject just because it's really in the forefront of our market right now. The changing landscape of yarn buying because a lot of people are panicking over the Joann's closings.
Right.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about in the changing landscape of yarn buying is the pros and cons of shopping in the yarn store.
Well, the
So,
obvious one for me is that you are able to touch and see the yarn.
mhm,
Right? We all know that pictures don't always give you the exact color that you're looking at. And yarn fibers, one 100% acrylic is different from another 100% acrylic is
mhm.
different from another, and feeling them, determining whether that will be good for your project or not is, I think, for me, is one of the biggest pros about shopping in store.
And it is, I would say, one of the big reasons why people will, um, what do you call it, point of purchase, impulse buy, because you touch something and you go, ooh,
Uh-huh.
I don't think I need it, but I gotta have it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It bumps up that it's that instant gratification that you get from being in the store and getting all the feels and the touchies.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about being in a store is that I get inspiration by seeing all of the yarn and the samples
Yes.
around me. So, not necessarily in a Walmart per se, but if you go to a local yarn shop,
Hmm.
they have samples made out of the yarn that really gives you, even if you don't like the sample, it gives you ideas for
Hmm.
things that you can do with the yarn. That's how they sell their yarn, is by
Hmm.
making those samples. And seeing all the colors in person, feeling the yarns, gives me so much inspiration. Whether I buy or not, it gives me
Right.
ideas for other things that I can make.
Well, and being able to touch that finished sample that they have there, as opposed to, because when I owned my yarn store up in Wisconsin, people would come in and rub it on their face. I'm like, don't get your epithelials all over my yarn, because to me that's just nasty. So please don't rub it on your face. 80,000 people have rubbed it on their face at that point. And so touch, if you've got to finish something to touch to finish something. If you need to feel how soft it is against your skin, use your hands. Don't touch your face.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm sorry.
Um,
It was one of my biggest pet peeves. And my one of my nephews was one of the worst ones about it. He'd come in and he'd go, "Oh, it's so soft. Stop
Stop that.
it."
One of the things I love is there are no shipping costs, right? You
Yes,
go in, it's just the cost of driving to the store. You pick it
that's an
up,
awesome
you take
pro.
it home, and there is no surprise. You just saw it, you just felt it, you know
Mhm.
exactly what you're getting. there
Mhm.
is no surprise.
Yep, absolutely. And then also, one of the pros of a yarn store is usually there's a community and support that comes with it.
Mhm.
Um, Even Joann's had their craft classes, and they usually had people within the departments that kind of knew what they were talking about. I mean, at one point in their being open, they did have that. But a lot of the stores will have people who can at least answer questions.
Yeah. Yeah, my, local yarn shop has both of them there. We actually have 2. Both of them have the instructors will give classes on certain
Hmm.
techniques. They have groups that get together and sip and stitch
Hmm.
all through the day, every day that they're open, so it's a great way to build community.
Our local yarn store downtown in Pensacola has a really great, I think it's Tuesdays and Thursday nights. They get together and they've got a couple tables that they have set up in the store. I know
Mhm.
they've got a room for classes because I've been at the sip and stitch while the class was going on. So it's a fun little place to be, especially if it's like a local yarn store. Now the big box stores, not so much because that's not what
Mm-mm.
they're built for. But the smaller ones are definitely built for more of that community feel.
Yeah, and it's a great way for them to sell yarn.
Oh, for sure.
Um, because if you need a new project on the fly, there you go. Or the class will do the same project together, and they
Mhm.
know that they're going to sell a certain amount of that particular yarn.
Yep, yep. All right, let's talk about some of the cons that come from
Mhm.
shopping in store. One of the
Yeah,
biggest things is going to be your limited selection.
yeah, and shrinking inventory. I think those
Mhm.
go together. Um, I used to shop at Hobby Lobby a lot.
Mhm.
And they would carry not only their own brand, the I
Yep,
Love You yarn brand,
yep.
but they would carry other big brand major retailers.
Mhm.
And over the years, they've shrunk their inventory to absolutely nothing. I mean, they were
Yeah, I know
taking out aisles and aisles of yarn,
it. Yeah.
to the point where it's not even worth walking in the store.
I don't even shop in there anymore unless I absolutely have to have some cotton right now. And the only reason being is because their cotton is, to me, superior to just about everybody else's cotton. And I can get it at a really decent price. And I can have it in my
Mhm.
hands right now. So there's
Right.
there's that pro of having the store right there. The con of
Right.
usually when I go in there, there's only 5 colors left on the shelf to choose from.
Exactly. We're talking about this today because of store closures. So we
Yeah.
know that it's a thing
Yeah. Well, and it started
that
kind of with the
brick and
Hobby Lobby
mortars are
shrinking,
closing.
didn't it?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, Michaels has done the same thing. They've
Mm,
shrunk their inventory. They used to have 2 or 3 aisles.
yeah.
I actually used to have an AC Moore in the area, which was phenomenal.
Oh, wow,
They
that
had
sounds
one of the largest yarn selection, areas that I have ever experienced in a chain.
mm.
But they closed the only store they had here in the valley, and so that's gone.
It makes me wonder what is causing all these closings because obviously people are out there buying the yarn, but because we're going to be talking about buying online and stuff like that later on. But like people must already be there if these stores are closing down. Either that or they're forcing people that way. Ooh, that's a nugget for later. Okay.
Ooh. Yeah, and like you said, there's pressure to buy because you
Mhm.
hate walking in with and walking out with nothing.
Mhm.
So and you might find that impulse buy, Biz.
Yes, I'm terrible about. And I used to be really bad though about just finding like because I could only afford like one skein of this really hoity-toity yarn. I was like, but I just have to have it. And then later on down the line, I'd be like, I'd really like to make something with that. But there was no way I couldn't find anything to go with it.
Yeah,
And
and there's not enough.
there's not enough to do anything with it. It's like, girl, you gotta stop that.
I used to do that with sock yarn. I was a sucker for indie dyed sock yarn, and I would get one skein. I don't make socks. I hate making socks. I hate knitting. I hate crochet. I don't do socks.
Yeah.
What drew me in was the fact that the colors were so
So
gorgeous.
fun.
I just had to have them. but I had nothing to make them out. I don't know. It was
Yes.
just
I eventually ended up, because I had so many single skeins of sock yarn floating around my stash for so long. And then one day I went, you know what? I'm going to create some patterns that require one ball of yarn.
yep,
So I created a set of little amigurumis that they take one ball of sock yarn, and that's it.
sweet.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you could find things out there to do them with, but especially if you hate, but you don't like making amigurumi either, so it's not a win-win for you. But
This is no win for me.
there's no win in there.
There's
Yeah,
no win.
um,
So consequently, I don't buy sock yarn
yeah.
anymore. I
But
learned my lesson.
we one there's one other thing on here that was really good, is stock uncertainty. We don't know if they're going to have enough skeins in a
Right.
specific dye lot, and they can't always order more in that dye lot. So, you may find something that you love and still not really be able to use it.
Or if you run out of it
Mm,
mid-project
hmm.
and you need to go back for more,
Yeah.
chances are you won't get it.
All right. So let's talk about the pros and cons of shopping for yarn online. And so the little nugget comes up. People are already obviously shopping online.
Mhm.
Or are they being forced to shop online? So
Well, it could be both.
could be. But
Could be both.
might be one of those things where, we were talking about the cons of having yarn in the store is the space that it takes up. They may not have enough space
Mhm.
to keep it all, and that's why they want us to shop online, is because they've got more warehouse space than they do store space, and they want to
Yeah,
switch that over to
exactly.
other things. So, I mean, I can understand from a business standpoint. I don't like it as a consumer. Anywho, yarn online, the pros. Let's talk about endless selection.
Oh my gosh, there's so much selection. Although
You can get
I'm g
anything.
you can get anything, but boy, when they run a sale, you better jump on it because
Oh,
it goes out of stock like
right now.
crazy,
Yeah.
right? So, it's convenient. I can
Mhm.
shop in my comfy recliner with my cup of tea,
Mhm.
late at night and have my yarn here, whereas with an in-store,
I have to do
I've
my
gotta make the
hair.
time to go, right? So, I really enjoy that.
I like shopping
Um,
braless, I'm just gonna say, and, so I prefer to do it from home.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. But
Uh,
also they've got, you were mentioning sales, competitive prices, and discounts. There are certain places online, we're gonna be talking about some different, um, sites that we frequent, that they've got a lot of sales and discounts built into their structure, the way that they work.
mhm,
But you can sometimes find better pricing online because of the fact that, um so I'm going to talk about scapies for a minute. They're Netherlands yarn company, but they don't sell directly their from them. You can't buy it from them. You have to get it through a dealer. And so they're all over the world, but you will find maybe one of the websites in the US has got a sale going on, and another site in the US maybe has more of the product. Like, you can't intermix them, just like any other business.
mhm.
So, um as far as like the deals and discounts and stuff like that, it depends on where you're looking as to for the same item. And I'm talking, safety,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the other thing is that you don't have to drive from store to store to try to find
Mhm,
what you're looking for. You're just opening a new tab on your computer
for sure.
and looking to see, but then you have to worry about shipping costs, which we'll talk about in just a second. But
Uh-huh.
it's so much more convenient and competitive and discounts and all of that. If you catch a sale and you're making a
Yeah,
blanket, holy cow, you can save so much money.
for sure. And you also get access to like reviews and community feedback and stuff like that online much more easily than you do on, say, a big box store. There's a lot of people who have
Right.
got opinions about certain box stores and stuff, and they'll share it in like Facebook groups. But if you're not in the Facebook groups, you don't see all this stuff. So,
Right.
you
Exactly.
and I, you and I have been talking about recently a lot about people leaving reviews and how helpful it can be for the experience of further shoppers.
Right.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to bring up about pros?
I don't think so. I mean, we could talk a little bit about subscription boxes and exclusive deals, but that to me is more from indie dyers than it is from big box stores, like or big online retailers. They don't really do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Although, well, I will say that Darn Good Yarns, which is
Hmm.
a smaller retail that's very much focused on eco-friendly yarns,
Mm,
does subscription boxes that you can try out some things that they've recycled. But
mm.
for the most part, um, you know, kits are a big thing on Lion Brand. I think you can do kits and things, what with Hirschner's and Annie's,
Annie's,
stuff like that.
most any of those will create a kit for you. Or like you can, if they've got digital downloads. I know Annie's big on this. They've got digital downloads, so they'll like this is all the yarn that you need for your whatever size. They'll break it down. It's super easy to figure out. That's one of the other things that is really nice about shopping online is if you're buying the pattern from them, you can figure out, or if you purchased it somewhere else, whatever, you can go in there and say, I'm an extra small, and it'll tell you how many skeins you need, what hooks
Mhm.
you need, what everything.
Yeah, a one-stop shop for
Yes,
sure.
yes. All right. So some of the cons about shopping online is that you don't get to touch the yarn,
Mhm.
until you have it in your hands.
No, and I every once in a while I'll go to one of my favorite places and just get a single skein
Uh
of
huh.
different things that I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna wanna use,
Hmm.
but then I work it up and I find that I it doesn't really suit my either my crochet personality or the project I'm working on, so I have to spend a little more money
Uh
to
huh.
actually figure out whether I like that yarn or not.
There was a company that I worked with to do a scarf kit with, and she asked me what colors I wanted, and I had chosen a color. When it got here, I'm like, oh, that doesn't look at all like what I thought it was going to be. So I ended up having
Yeah,
to switch it over to something else because it online looked like this really brilliant purple, and when I got it, it was almost a pink tone. And so
yeah,
that's one of the hard parts about shopping online is that you kind of have to you kind of have to be willing to go, this is going to be a little bit more or a little bit less than what I'm seeing, because it is
right.
so rare for a color to be just like the color you see online.
Mhm.
Everybody's
Yep.
everybody's setups are different, so your colors on your computer are going to look different, all of it.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. And then we mentioned shipping costs.
Mhm.
If you need only 1 skein of yarn,
Yeah. Don't need only one
those
skein of yarn. That's all I have to say.
just prepare plan ahead. Um, I don't know, can you return yarn? Have you ever tried to return yarn
You can.
online?
Yep.
Can you?
Yep, you can. They have to be obviously, they can't be stinky. They need to be in the same. They can't look like they've been really touched at all. They need to be very
Yeah,
pristine. But you can return yarn, and a lot of times that will require you to contact their customer service. Some of them want you to get a return label that you put onto your box. Some of them will pay for shipping for it to be returned. Some of them want you to pay for shipping for it. I mean, so it can be a little bit of hoo-ha to have to run, to return it, but a lot of them will take it back, especially
yeah,
if
okay.
it's really clean.
I've never tried to do that.
I've
And
only
then
done it once.
waiting for the yarn
Oh god, that is
to
so hard.
arrive. Right? So there are 2 parts to that, right?
Mm.
So how long does it take them to fulfill the order and get it to the post office? Then how long does the post office take to get to you, and depending upon the level of shipping that you've chosen, and I always choose, well, if they offer free shipping and I don't need it immediately, I'll do that. But that means that what happens is that yarn box will sit in one of the regional
To
distribution
go.
centers for a while.
Oh yeah.
It'll say it's sitting there. It won't say it's sitting there. It's just it's updated and it was 5 days ago.
It's
Right. So
waiting for the rest of that pallet to be filled with the rest of the free shipments that came in.
exactly, exactly. So if you are one of those people who I need the yarn now,
Mm.
online shopping's probably not for you.
Well, or you're gonna have to pay expedited shipping charges.
You'll pay,
It's
exp
that's your
for
choice.
sure, but
Yeah.
then you still have to depend upon how fast they fulfill the order.
Yes.
There
Okay. So that's a good point to bring up because I literally just had this happen to me with ordering from Lion Brand. So I
Yep, that's
ordered
happened
it
to me too.
and they say, you'll have it within whatever, like 3 to 4 days. That means from when they ship it. That doesn't
Right.
mean 3 to 4 days from when you ordered it. It took over a week and a half for me to get an order from Lion Brand. I mean, come on, people. I mean, I'm in the same
Ah,
country as you. This should not have taken that long. And
but it did.
oh my God, because it sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there
Yep,
for probably 4 or 5 days before they even fulfilled it.
yeah,
Irritating.
yep, and I have had them say not I don't wanna pick on Lion Brand because honestly, they are
They are a
at
good
the top of my list, but,
yes, me too.
and I order from them all the time. But I will say that there was at some point when they said there was just such a high volume of
Mhm.
orders that they couldn't get
Yes.
to fulfilling it for at least they let me know,
And,
right?
now that you say that, I did order on during one of their big sales. So
Mm,
if you order during a
mhm,
sale, you cannot expect them to
nope,
be on top of it because they're constantly filling orders.
mhm,
So, didn't make it
right.
any
Oh,
better.
no, it did not. Now this is one that gets me all the time. I have an image in my head of what I want,
Yeah,
and it's not something wildly crazy.
yeah.
Mainstream, color,
Mhm.
fiber content, whatever. But I go on, and this happens with all of my shopping online. There are way too many choices, and it's actually research has shown us that the more choices you have, the less able you are to make a decision.
Yeah. You'll have
So
people walk away out of frustration before they make a decision.
exactly, exactly. So it's not always a good thing that there are tons of choices,
Mhm.
available to you because you'll just get paralyzed. I've walked away from a couple of websites just this week, not yarn related, but just related,
Ugh,
just online shopping in general,
yeah.
because I started looking and couldn't even figure out what I liked and didn't like. It
Yeah.
was so overwhelming.
I
So
get it a lot with
that's not a good thing.
like, when I'm looking for, we'll say, a baby walker, because she's now getting to the point where the one that she had, she needs a little bit more, like, get up and go. So, anyway, I've been looking, and I'm like, "Okay, well, there's so many on there to choose from. Do I want her to
Yep.
have wheels all the way around? Do I want her to have a playset?
Oh
Do I
gosh.
want her I mean, there's just too many choices. So, you're right, I will just shut it off and be like, "You know what? I'll come back to this at a time."
Maybe not
The
today.
brain is not trying to do other things as well. Because I just need to shut that one down. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same with yarn. Totally. Now, one of the other websites that I absolutely love to death and we're going to talk about is Wool Warehouse from the UK.
Yes.
Now they have got like if it's made in Europe or Britain, they pretty much have the yarn. Um
And lots of it.
and lots of it. They've got every color,
Lots of it.
they've got every fiber, they've got every possibility. So when you go, I need a blue DK weight yarn. Oh, you better be more specific than
No.
I
No.
don't want it
Yeah.
to have any mohair in it. I don't want it. It's gotta be cut. It's gotta, you gotta
Yeah.
make sure that you are putting in your
Uh-huh.
specifications or you are going to get absolutely
You
overwhelmed by the choices.
Yeah. So I will talk about it later, but I only shop there when I know exactly what I want.
I love Wool
Um,
Warehouse. They are just one of
oh,
my
I love them
favorite.
too. Yes.
Anywho's
All
favorite.
right.
So, um, we're going to talk about major chains that still sell yarn in store. This is becoming a
It's
rarity.
hard.
Yes,
It's hard.
because
Yeah.
I came up in the world where there was before they were Michaels. My God, what were they?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, geez, and I worked at the store too. I can't believe I can't remember it. So somebody, if you remember back in the 80s, the yarn store that was the yarn store before Michaels, because Michaels bought them out and they were in the mall, and they didn't have a huge selection and stuff like that of yarn there either. And it's kind of probably the same as it is now with Michaels, but there was Woolworths. There was all the little like drugstore places that you could stop in
Yep.
and get yarn, and everybody had yarn.
You know what, Biz? I think though at that time there was so much less to choose from. There was so much less
Oh yeah.
manufactured. The yarn, because crochet and knitting are so incredibly popular and people are buying so much yarn, the yarn companies have stepped up. And so there are more yarn companies in general. They
Yes.
have bigger selections, such a variety of weights and weights and fiber contents of
Fibers, yeah,
yarn.
yeah.
That's almost, I think it's because we have the ability now to have this landscape of huge amounts of selection.
Mhm.
And you just can't, I think that's why back when I started crocheting back in the dark ages, there was one acrylic that you could get. That was it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you didn't you so everybody could carry it. You could go down to the Woolworths or you could go down to whatever store was like the department store
mhm.
and
I
find
remember the
it.
name, it was Lee Ward's.
Yes,
Lee
I
Ward's.
remember Lee Ward's.
Yes, and I worked there. Oh my god, yeah, and then they became Michaels, but yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think too that, and I think it's because I remember when I had my yarn store, I had to pick and choose which yarns I had in my store, and we lived in an area where it was super touristy. So, and I know that people have heard this story before, but so we would have touristers from like the Chicago area and all the hoity-toity places, and those are the people who they knit. They only knit, and
Wow.
so and that was back when knitting was like you were looked down upon if you were a crocheter. Like I
Yep.
knit,
Meh.
and
I'm
I need
sorry
to
for
have
you.
natural fibers, and they need to be hand dyed, and they need to be hand woven and whatever. So
Oh,
like
and only crocheters used acrylic, right?
only. I mean, like I had people who would complain and be like, "Oh, is this all you have in here? Is this acrylic stuff?" Yes, because you know what? I cater to the customers in my city. I like that you're touristing in my shop, but I'm not expecting you to support me. You know what I mean? Like you are not going to be what feeds me at the end of this week. So, but yeah, I had to be very picky. But when I chose, I was the kind of person who like I got every color they had because
Mm,
I wanted to be able to have a selection for I mean, we lived in the middle of nowhere. You had to drive
right.
an
Yeah.
hour to the nearest Walmart.
Oh,
And
gee.
oh yeah, it was crazy. So I made sure that like I had every color of the brand but see I only had maybe like I only had two major acrylic brands, one cotton, one wool, like I didn't have a lot, one baby brand, but I had every color.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we've
So what were
hit,
we
well,
talking about?
Joanne's is no more, right? Joann's is no more,
Yeah.
not even online, but
Oh,
Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart. I've heard people say that you can find yarn in Walmart
periodically,
um,
yeah, depending on the Walmart.
periodically. I don't know where AC Moore is anymore. Like I said, mine closed. And um,
The
I've
Dollar
heard people
Tree.
say that you can get some at the dollar
That
store,
trips me out,
right?
and it's like Premier Yarn. It's that brand Premier.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the one
That's
that I've been seeing
crazy.
at the dollar store in the pictures.
And then there's your local yarn shop, which is going
Yeah.
to be more expensive and
Yeah.
higher end
Mhm.
yarns and stuff like that. So,
Yep. Let's see. Popular online yarn retailers, and of course, this is all as of 2025, as of March of 2025.
all
Um,
right, check it out.
yeah. All right. So Lion Brand is one of our favorites to work with,
Mhm.
just because they have a really, really nice variety of yarns to choose from. They've got decent cottons. They've got several decent acrylics. Um,
Mhm.
and they've got, all the weights, which that makes me happy because I am a girl who I like my for acrylic, but I really like DK weights too.
Right, and but I think they seem to specialize more in the DK and up
Mm,
weight range. They're not. I didn't look today, but if they have fingering weight and sock weight yarn, it's probably not their most popular stuff.
yeah, and they don't have a lot of like sock yarn to choose from.
Mm-mm.
I think they maybe have one brand. I could be completely wrong. I was kind of tootling around in there when I was looking the other day, but I don't buy sock yarn very often, so I don't
Yeah,
remember.
they really love their worsteds and chunkies. They
Yeah.
love that. They make lots of kits and things out of that. So
And
you
they're
can
the
find
ones
lots of
that have
stuff there.
um the wool ease. Isn't that it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And I love wool ease because it is super warm, but it is so nice to work with if you are looking for like wool equivalent, but something that doesn't itch your skin.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my issue. We talked about Michael's.
Hmm.
You can shop online. I will say Michael's and Hobby Lobby, little tough to shop online because a lot of their inventory will be out.
Yes, yes,
Um, they
especially
do
for
have all the colors and stuff, but you might have trouble getting it.
yeah. If you see a sale, hit it right now, or maybe not hit it because depending on where they are, I don't remember what day of the week Hobby Lobby changes over. I think it's on Sundays.
When it's Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
Well, I
Um,
don't know online. Now what their sale in store would be Wednesday.
okay. So
Used to
I'm
be.
sure that they change the online stuff on Wednesdays as well, just to match up. But um, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to get there in the beginning of the week. And one of the reasons I love the fact that they do the 30% off. And I don't know if they still are, but like I think it was in 2020 when they started doing it like every other week. And I love that, except that, like you said, they're out of colors all of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Just
My mom used to work there, and
oh, did
so, um, she she told me that they had there were certain sales that they ran all the time, and they would have them on a 3 or 4 week rotating
right.
schedule. So 1 week would be fabric and all the notions and things.
Mhm.
1 week would be all the craft supplies like
Right.
pencils and crayons and paints and things. 1 week would be yarn, 1 week would be floral, and they would stack them so that it wasn't just all about yarn, but each week would be kind of the same 3 or 4 that would then rotate off and come back in
Right.
3 or 4 weeks' time.
Right. And I love Hobby Lobby. I personally I don't shop based on politics. I go where my product is. And so I never had a problem with any of that. But I will say not all of their yarns are amazing. You have to be kind of careful, just like anybody, though. You know, everybody's gotten into these blanket yarns and stuff like that, and I never did, mostly because I would watch them. They're like they shred everywhere, and they make a huge mess, and it just was not something that brought me joy watching other people do it. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But
Yeah.
um, I love their acrylic. So I have a tendency to buy my big skeins from them.
And they are generous.
They
The
are
skeins are
generous.
generous. Yeah,
And I mean, for I think they're like 4.99, 5.99 a skein, but you get a lot of yarn.
you do.
So
All right. Oh, this is another one that I use this occasionally when I can't find something somewhere else. Webbed is another one that sells lots of different brands.
yes,
So this is a great one, and their prices are competitive. It's a
hmm
great one to go to when you can't find it somewhere else, and they ship really fast. I've
yeah.
never had a problem with their shipping.
I've only shopped there once. It was because there was a particular yarn I needed, and I got it. I got it really fast. I was pleased with the service. And one thing that they do on there is they've got a stacking discount that they, if you buy,
Yes.
I don't know exactly how it works because I'm not a loyal customer. Is that something that you could expound on?
No, I'm not a loyal customer either. I just shop there on the rare occasion I can't find it somewhere else.
Yeah,
But they
and then
have this thing called Webb's Discount.
yeah,
So I don't, it's something worth investigating, especially if you want to save some money. But there are certain yarns that are designated for a Webb's discount. And
yes,
so that's something I would check out on the website.
and
We're going to talk about shopping on a budget, and that would be a good thing to consider if you need to shop on a budget.
they're very good about posting on every yarn that's available for this
Hmm.
discount on there as
Yeah,
well. So
there's
it's
no
not like you have
question.
to go digging and be like, "Oh, I wonder if this one's on discount." It'll say it right there.
It'll say it
One
right
thing
there.
that I do think in my personal world, Webb's is kind of a bougie yarn place. Like so it's a little bit closer to an LYS online. Like it's
Mm,
got the bougier yarns like what you're gonna find in a local yarn store.
gotcha. All right. These two are my favorite. Exactly. The weird thing is these are exact the same company.
Yes.
They sell exactly the same yarns. One is geared toward crochet and one is
Uh-huh.
geared toward knitting, but you can go to the knit picks for crochet,
Mhm.
and all of the stuff is there. So they are identical. Either
Yeah.
one will work. But I really enjoy their DK and worsted weight yarns. Very nice price point. As a general rule, the yarns are durable and easy to care for and that sort of thing. And
Mhm.
they're really kind of for people who want a little bit of luxury in their lives, but they can't afford
Mhm.
those really expensive yarns. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend Knit Picks and We Crochet.
I love their sock yarn. It's wonderful, durable. The colors that they
Mhm.
dye them in are just gorgeous. I highly recommend their sock yarn there.
Yep, good stuff. Um, Annie's. Now, I have no experience with Annie's whatsoever,
I have a
but
lot of experience with Annie's.
well, do speak about it, my dear. Please tell us
Do
about Annie's.
Annie's is a great little place. They're on the more expensive and I'm just going to say that because like they have really nice yarns and they are usually just slightly like maybe a dollar or two more than if you were to buy them on a bargain website. But they're a great place to go like if you want to make they have great patterns. And they will always pair the patterns with the product that you need to make that pattern. So they will make it's like a one-stop shopping experience where you can get your pattern and you can say like if you wanted to make a sweater because they're very big on wearables And I
Yeah.
mean, they've got everything, but they're real big on wearables.
Yeah.
And if you decide, okay, like I want an extra large sweater and I want to make this sweater and I want it in this yarn, whatever is at the bottom, they'll tell you exactly how many skeins you need. They'll tell you what size hook you need. They will break it down into everything. You'll know exactly how much that project is going to cost you before you even buy it. It's it's a really nice little system. And they're always running sales.
Yeah. And they have a lot of free patterns as well.
Huge amount of free patterns.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're
So
great. I
if
love
you're
Annie's. I've got a
Yeah.
little the once you sign up for an account with them, you don't have to put any kind of money information in there. I put my credit card in there each time I go to buy something. And then or I think they've probably got it in there where you can save it, but whatever. But like they've got a little bookshelf that they create for you of the things that you buy from them. So it's kind of like Etsy or Ravelry where once you purchase from them, that download is always available
Yeah.
in their little
Now,
bookshelf.
I forgot to say this when we were on Lion Brand. Again, if you're looking for budget friendly,
Uh-huh.
because you reminded me of this when you were talking about Annie's, they now have a rewards program.
Okay.
And so I buy from there a lot. That means that every so often I get to use a reward certificate to lower the cost of the yarn I'm buying.
You
So you
know,
can,
they sent
yeah.
me 620 points. So I should probably save that, huh?
Well, you go into your account, it's there. When you're getting ready to purchase, you simply go in and get the code for
Okay.
the dollar amount that corresponds to whatever rewards you have. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, so they have that rewards program now that makes it even more incentivized to buy from them, which I don't need an incentive, but that just makes it even sweeter.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. I love reward programs. I love it when there's I mean, even if I'm only earning a pizza every 7th pizza, I feel like I got something out of it, you know?
Well, yeah, me and Barnes and Noble are best friends right now. Anyway, so that's Annie's. Here's one. This is one both of us
Love it.
love. Wool Warehouse UK. Um, do not be frightened at all that this company is out of the US. If you
No,
are a US based crocheter, do not avoid this because it's in the UK, because I'm telling you, they fulfill orders
quickly.
quickly. The shipping, even though they go from Royal Mail to passed off to the United States Post Office, it is
Yes.
so fast. And they have so many yarns. My favorite to order from there is from my favorite company to order is Stylecraft. I know you like
I like that
scapies a
too.
lot.
Yeah, I don't buy as much
Um,
scabies as I should just because it's expensive no matter where you go, but it is one of my favorite yarns, but I love their style craft there as well.
yeah, I buy Stylecraft Special DK
Yep.
all the time, almost for every baby blanket that I design. That's
It's
what
a
I use.
great
I just
yarn.
love it. I love it. Um, and they'll convert from British pounds to
Yep.
dollars so that you know exactly how much you're spending.
Yep.
Um, I just absolutely love it.
And
So
they've got
I
2
highly
different
recommend.
2 different price points in their shipping as well. They've got basic like I think 5.99 shipping, and that one is not tracked. But if you want to have it tracked, I believe it's like 14.99. And now I've done both, where it's just been the 5.99, and I've done where it's been tracked. I like the tracking just because I'm nosy and I like to know when my yarn's going to be here, and it does seem to move a little bit faster. But I will say that I'm never displeased by the amount of time that I have to wait when I pay for regular shipping either. It's
Well,
usually within a week to a week and a half.
yeah, I never pay for the more expensive, and they will send me regular emails
Uh-huh.
about where it is in the Royal
Where it
Mail
is. Yep.
system. They'll say, and then they'll say when it's been passed off, gone through customs and been passed off, and
Mhm.
then it's assigned a US tracking number.
Mhm.
So I can go on the USPS website and track it there. So I don't pay for the extra tracking because I know that I can get it other ways and save that $9 for something else.
Yes. It is I mean, like, it just depends on how quickly you want it, and there have
Yeah,
been times when I've needed it faster than I knew that I could wait, so I'll just spend that little bit of extra money.
right.
But, yeah, I mean, I adore them. Now, I get sucked in a lot of the time by the price because you see, "Oh my god, it's only $1.50." No, that's the pound. You
It's a
have to
pound 50.
it's a British website, so it's not a buck
Yeah,
50. It's gonna be more, and because
yeah,
the dollar versus the pound, um, it costs us a little bit more. Now, it's not a lot. I'm gonna say if I've got like a $17 order, it's usually closer to like 22 in American dollars.
yeah, I
It's
don't know
just
what the exchange rate is right now, but a
I'm
pound
just basing it
50
off of
would
like
probably,
orders I've
I
had
think a
before.
pound is worth $1.50 or something,
We're gonna
a
find
dollar
out.
60. Yeah.
Pound.
They have a way, there's a little icon in the upper right-hand corner with flags. You got to know your flag, people. But it's there's a flag that you click on and it changes. It converts it to dollars.
Yeah, it's $1.29.
Oh
So you're paying
gosh,
it's 29 cents per British pound more that we're spending.
it's still that's the exchange rate. So it's
Yes,
not more expensive. It's just it looks like it
it
is.
looks more
So
expensive
yeah,
because I like to pay the $1.50 or the pound 50 in British, but
but no, it's
and that's
closer to
okay.
$2.
Yeah, it's just something you need to be aware of because
Exactly.
there before I got real savvy with it and was buying from them a lot, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing, blah blah blah." And then I'd be like, "Wait a minute, why is it more?" And so once I realized what was going on, of course, like now my brain just goes, "It's gonna be more." So
Yeah. All right. So next is Hirschner's, and I've never ordered from Hirschner's. Have you?
I have not. I'm just gonna say, and the weird thing is, I lived in Wisconsin. I lived 2.5 hours away from the Hirschner's like factory, and I never went in my entire life.
Nope.
It's
No, I've
crazy.
not. But it's one that you need to pay attention to because
It is.
apparently it's very popular.
It is indeed very popular. Um,
And I forgot to put in here Love Crafts.
oh,
That's a great one. That we love Paint Box Yarns, which I think
yeah,
is a British
it
company,
is.
isn't it? Paint Box. Paint Box Yarns, spectacular
Love
yarns.
it.
Price point is fabulous, and
Amazing.
the quality is top notch. And
Chef's
Love
kiss.
Crafts they have a US distributor.
Yes.
So when you order from them from the US branch, you get it pretty quickly.
Yes.
It's wonderful. I love crafts. Love it, love it, love it.
And now, just back to Hirschner's real quick. They have
Mhm.
kits. They're very big
Yes.
on Afghan kits and craft kits of all kinds.
Yep.
They've got a thing where you can buy a box of I want to say a mystery box, and they'll just throw a
Mhm.
bunch of their brand yarns in, and they'll send it to you. Or was that Mary Maxim? Mary Maxim is another one too, where it's
Yeah.
lots of kits and stuff like that. But
I kind of put Annie's, Maxim's and Hirschner's kind of in the
they're all
same
kind of from that
basket.
same like
Yeah.
era of when they
Yeah.
started. But yeah, let's see. Hirschner's has got Premier, Lion Brand, Bernay, Karen, you know.
And honestly, I looked at all of these places, and they basically carry the same brands, the Karen, the Burnett, and all of that kind of stuff. So
Yep, yep. Oh, and you've got
compare
on
and
here
save.
Premier Yarns and Hobie.
Uh-huh.
Hobie,
Those are good ones.
I love I love certain yarns from Hobie. My one thing with them is that they have a tendency to change their specialty-ish yarns out a lot. Like they've got their mainstays, their Twister and those brands, those are all always there. But I got some yarn from them a couple years ago that was more of a specialty yarn, It was a recycled cotton. And sure
Mm,
enough, went back to find it. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
the
So,
and I think I'm just going to put it out there that yarn companies take liberties with that all the time.
they
Lion Brand
do.
did that to me not long ago. They had this beautiful yarn called Comfy Cotton Blend. It
Mm,
was on the heavier end of the DK weight
mhm.
um, category, but it was this beautiful blend of acrylic and cotton that was so easy to work with, beautiful colors. They changed the name of it and then they just discontinued it. And it came in
Oh,
these big, giant balls, cakes,
yeah.
and so much yarn. I don't know why on earth they would discontinue it because it was a spectacular yarn, but
Wow.
really soft. Yeah, I was really mad about that one. But
Uh,
anyway, I
yeah.
digress.
It's one of those. It's like my favorite perfumes. They always discontinue those too, but
Yeah,
they
moving
do.
on.
What you gonna do?
Oh my gosh. Well,
So
we
yeah,
can whiz
how to
through
buy
this
yarn on a
part.
budget because we don't want to break the bank. We
Nope.
want to, we're always striving, I think everybody is, to live, within our means. So that includes having to, think about our yarn purchases as well, which sucks. But and we're in a day and age in an economy right now where we kind of have to watch for our sales and our coupons and things of that nature.
Yeah, and that's a big one. Sales and coupons. I mentioned the loyalty program from Lion Brand
Yes,
store apps. If you're shopping in person,
those loyalty programs are
shop at
use them.
dollar stores and Walmart if you can.
Yep.
Um, I know that my local yarn shop does what they call yarn in the pool. So she got a baby pool, and
Funny.
every week she has different yarns in the baby pool that are
That's
clearance.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's great. And then buy in bulk.
Hmm.
Just either Lion Brand has these big cones that by the yard, it's less expensive. So if you're making a blanket or something, I know Love Crest does big, they'll do 5 and 10
Hmm.
skein packs
Hmm.
and discount it that way. So that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You have shopping clearance sections. Okay, we're gonna talk about the shopping the clearance section real quick because I did that with the Lion Brand. One thing that you want to be absolutely sure of, which we all expect you to think about this anyway. I mean, because if you're making a project, you're already worried about whether or not you're gonna have enough yarn. Um, just be aware there's a possibility that you may order something from a clearance, and if somebody got there before you, you might not get that yarn. Um,
yeah,
like on Lion Brand, I ordered a couple of skeins, and there was one that I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get this. It's a little sketchy because they were like, this is running low because they'll usually tell you on there this has got
yeah,
a low
yeah,
count. So there's a good possibility that you might not get the yarn that you want if you're basing it off of a clearance section.
right. Exactly.
But yeah, so get creative with sourcing your yarn. That's another way to do it. There are people who thrift for a living. Like they
Well,
only
I
shop at
donate
thrift stores.
yarn to thrift stores. I
Yeah,
donate yarn that I'm not using anymore, so I know that it's somewhere being sold and
yeah,
garage sales. Now, people around here don't do garage sales much anymore.
yeah.
They do them, but it's not like it was when I was growing up and
Right.
everybody did it. Um, you can find places that exchange yarn. I think on Ravelry, isn't there a place where you can
I
um,
think there's still a
exchange
thing on
yarn?
here.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure about that, but you do have on here like online marketplaces. I know there
yeah.
are a lot of only free,
Facebook?
only free marketplaces on Facebook where you can either, I shouldn't say only free because there's also that group. I can't remember what the name of it is, but people are having yarn sales every single week,
Yeah,
stashing.
yeah. You can find stuff on eBay. Etsy,
Yes.
all of that stuff. And something that I hear people do all the time. They'll go to the thrift store, find a knit sweater, and they'll deconstruct it and
Yes.
use the yarn for something else.
Especially if you're getting like a cashmere sweater.
Oh, holy cow.
You can't buy
Yeah.
cashmere yarn at a decent
No.
price.
And then if you've got a local crafting group,
Yep. Swap
so
groups, those are
there
great.
was a long time ago, this was a number of years ago. My daughter was a member of a meetup group, and I don't know whether it was a crochet and knitting group. I think it was. It was a crafting group, and they would sip and stitch at a local coffee shop every once in a while. And once, maybe every 3 months or 6 months, they would all come with yarn that they didn't want anymore,
Oh, yeah.
and you would bid on it,
Fun. Like a little
right? And then
auction.
they'd take that money and they'd either donate it or they'd repurpose it for something that the group wanted to do.
Oh, that's
That's a really cool
cool.
idea. Yeah.
Yes.
Then then they knew that yarn wasn't going to waste.
Fun. Let's see. You do have swap, and we did talk about this swap with other crafters. I mean, personally, I have a person who she wants all the yarn that I don't. So anytime that I'm getting to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm done looking at this, I'll just stick it in a box and mail it to her, and she's like, "Yay, new yarn!" So
Yeah.
it's great to have people that. But you know what, I had a lot of people who donated to me over the years as well. For various projects, or when I was heavy in doing charity work and stuff like that. Everyone's like, here's the yarn, use it.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, all right, so making the most of what you have is really going to be the way that you're going to navigate this kind of helter skelter, crazy world, yarn world we're living in, where it seems like all of our easy access is being removed.
Mhm.
Um, you have some different ideas down here, which are very good.
Yeah, I mean, they're really not that hard to figure out. Use different yarn weights or fibers
Try
if
some
you can
different
get
things.
away with it, right?
Yeah,
So if you use a different yarn weight, you have to adjust the
yeah,
math, do the math, mix expensive with cheap.
yep.
The only consideration there is how do you take care of it, right?
Mhm.
So if you've got some sock yarn that you want to use up, that's expensive, mix it maybe with some sock yarn from Recrochet or
Right.
Knit Picks, right? And then just stick to versatile colors. I do lots of neutrals and solids. I went through a period where I did a lot of variegated and multicolored yarns, but they limit what you can use them for. So I
They
just stick
do.
to, as you can see, I stick to solids, and basic colors. I try not to get too wild and crazy.
I like heathers and marls. If I'm gonna
Yeah.
do something with some color to it. Although I do love a good variegated yarn. I mean, they do have their place.
They do, but don't
Usually in
stock
cotton
up on
yarn.
them.
I don't stock up. I buy like
Do
one
not
or
stock up on
two.
them.
No, but just because sit and pet the pretty variegated. But yeah, I have a tendency to use stuff like that for washcloths because
Mhm.
you don't,
Right.
you know, I'm not looking to necessarily have my stitches stick out on a washcloth that's gonna get, mangled.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but anyway, yeah. So, um, just to go over the highlights of what we've been talking about today. The pros and cons are there for shopping in stores and online. Doesn't matter where you go, you're going to have to use like be versatile,
Mhm.
be willing to adjust because as we see more stores close down and stuff like that, I'm hoping everybody else stays open. Everybody's like, oh my god, is Michael's next? Not necessarily. We are not here to fearmonger. We are not here to be like, oh, doom and gloom, skies falling. We are not Chicken Little. Um,
No, I think the big takeaway is that there are choices. There
there
are still
are choices.
choices. You just have to adapt to the situation,
Uh-huh.
and
Don't be
find
afraid.
what you want. You might have to research,
Yeah,
but the choices are out there.
yeah. And don't be afraid to try something new. Just because
Mhm.
you haven't touched it, if you talk to other people who have used the yarn or you read the reviews or this or that or the other, get into reading reviews if you've never read reviews. I read reviews all the time on things that I don't understand because they help me make my decision. They really do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. And with that, we are going to let you go because we've been chitty chatting for a whole hour now.
We've given you all the information about how to navigate the changing yarn landscape.
Yes. Yes, and we hope that you guys have gotten some useful information. As always, reach out to us, leave comments, and especially this one's a recording. So, leave comments. We'll see them. We'll come back. We'll talk to
Yep,
you, answer questions. If you can't get a hold of us on the YouTube actual recording, come find us online. We're the same everywhere, Madam Stitch and Busy Crochet.
yep,
And we will help
yep.
you, help you, help you. All right. So, with that, we want you to be blessed. Have an amazing weekend, and we will see you soon.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.